is a quorum present, although, we have three of our members here. Our vice chair is unable to join us today, but we do have our new member, Diane Butler, joining us, and we're really excited for her to be here. And Diane, I will open the floor if you had anything you would like to say for the record on your first meeting with us.
I would just like to say it's a pleasure to be here. I worked for the Howard County Board for about 8 years, so I've got some experience with that. I know some of the people here a little bit. I'm very sorry to hear about Janet. I never got to meet her. But I look forward to working with you and everyone helping me to get up to speed on all the new things and anything else that I might not know from the county board to the state board. So, and it's a pleasure meeting everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Diane. And with that, you mentioned our member, Janet Millis, and it is with somber heart that I mentioned that she passed last Friday. Janet, to your point, Diane, was someone who came in very humble spirited, but had a lot of knowledge with her campaign election organizing through the League of Women Voters, the state of Maryland, and the nation. She was someone that always came prepared and always led with a bipartisan, nonpartisan perspective to get to the good. And we definitely honor and respect her for that. And those are my sentiments that I will work regarding Janet, our colleague, that I will work to sustain, uphold in her honor for the citizens of Maryland. And that is for the record on behalf of myself. And I will open the floor up for the members who wish to provide comment for the record. Any parting or last words for our member, Janet Millis?
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes, you have the floor, Janet.
I'll be fast, but I first got to meet Miss Millis and Janet. We grabbed gelato in Montgomery County on a surprisingly hot afternoon. It had rained earlier that day, and we thought maybe it wouldn't. And we just sat outside and talked for far longer than I expected. It was great. And we talked a lot about campaigns and a lot about elections and her experience and my experience. But the thing I'll never forget is when the conversation shifted to families. And it was clear Janet loved her family, loved the work that we do, loved the passion for safeguarding elections and making sure that they are secure and that voters have faith in the elections. But there was nothing that was going to bring her more joy than talking about her family. And it's something that stuck with me. And every time we talked, she asked about my boys, and we talked about her family. And it's just, she was a phenomenal colleague, but also just an incredible person, and I'm really gonna miss her. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jake. Member Weissman, I truly appreciate those sentiments, and I'm certain that Janet was earnest in her consideration and concern for your family, and as she was for what she did on behalf of our body. So with that, if before we move into additions for agenda, and I think that's sort of where we are, I'd like to request a moment of silence in honor of our fallen member. With that, thank you all so very, very much. And moving on to the administrator's report, Jared.
Well, thank you. Yes, and I echo your sentiments, both the chair and member Jake Weissman there on Janet as well. Her passion was definitely elections. I'd worked with her in my old role as well when she was over with the league with legislation, and always looking for what's best for Marylanders in a nonpartisan way, and trying to expand the franchise and secure elections. So I have appreciated all her efforts, and you know, I'm sorry of her passing as well. With that, now I'll get into the admin report. Bills are being signed now. We have 2 bills that have already been signed. The Protecting Election Officials Act of 2024, which was House Bill 585 and Senate Bill 480. That was emergency legislation, so that is now in effect with the governor's signature. We had a great turnout with the local boards coming out supporting that, the signing, and we had 2 rounds of photos, which was great. And the chair, thank you for attending as well for that ceremony. It protects all of us, and it shows that the administration and the state of Maryland values our work and wants to make sure that we retain our workers in elections, and that we're not going to get harassed in any sort of undue fashion. Additionally, House Bill, the other House bill for departmental, which was the one with the Secretary of State's office, House Bill 14. It's not on the list. Oh, no, sorry. House Bill 112, Senate Bill 291, persons doing public business disclosure requirements. That was the other kind of departmental bill that was signed into law as well. We worked closely with the Secretary of State's office, so that's there. Our departmental bill is on schedule. The next bill signing is scheduled tomorrow, and that's going to be for House Bill 471, which is the post-election procedures, which makes us in compliance with the Electoral College Reform Act that was recently passed on the federal law there. Just changes some deadlines for that, and that was emergency. House Bill 371 recount procedures will be signed into law as well. That's also emergency and will be effective for the upcoming elections as well. So those are good bills. The recount one just kind of takes our policies and streamlines the process a little bit there, so it's not major disruption for the local boards of election there. And House Bill 333, election disinformation and large social media platforms. This one here is a bill to help us combat disinformation on the social media platforms. We have to create a portal to allow citizens to upload that information for us to make sure that we can help correct the record. And if it rises to the level of, I would say, criminal activity, we would then refer those matters over to the state prosecutor's office. But House Bill 333 is one of these bills that, you know, in the battle against disinformation in the electoral administration, we need everyone's participation here because it's so voluminous here. So that one's kind of making it a collective effort in our attempt to beat back mis and disinformation there. The other ones are scheduled hopefully to be signed in the next month or so. But, you know, we've had changes where the election judges had 2 bills that had good impact. I think that House Bill 261 about unemployment insurance benefits not affecting if you're an election judge, and then House Bill 700 made some revisions that the local boards and Mayo requested. That one, House Bill 700, doesn't go into effect until January 1st, 2025. The other ones I've been giving you basically updates on there. So that's kind of it on the, I would say, the legislative front. I want to talk a little bit about our voter outreach campaign, Vote Maryland, Vote MD. It's in full swing. It has been gaining a lot of clicks and impressions across the social media and digital channels. I know for a fact it's been hitting a lot of younger voters because my daughter constantly gets text messages or Snapchats back from her friends saying, "Why is your dad on my Spotify account?" with telling me to vote. So I know that it's been doing well, and I'm quite happy about it. It's really been a fantastic campaign. Also, I like the fact that the calendar links were there to add key dates, so right to your phone, and that was clicked 81 times. A lot of people have said that was a great addition. So as we have moved into it, we've done the register to vote part now, and now we're just in full swing for Get Out and Vote campaign for the voter outreach campaign. Additionally, we have met with, in our preparation for the upcoming election, met with representatives from BGE, DeWitt, and Department of Health, so that we can kind of coordinate for any emergencies if they occur. Department of Health assisted with training our officials on if we receive a foreign substance that comes through the mail, as well as distribution of Narcans, should any sort of substance emergency occur while opening up ballots during our canvasses. We also met with the Maryland Athletic Association to discuss some concerns regarding spring playoffs, because they are scheduled to be held on Election Day in some of the high schools, and with the College Board about making up AP testing as well, because that was already scheduled on Election Day. Most counties are not going to encounter AP testing at their schools that serve as polling locations. So we are being proactive and making sure that anything that may interfere or possibly interferes with Election Day, everyone is kind of aware of the situation about it and taking preventive actions in case of emergencies. So that's one part that's going on there. We've had our collaboration meeting with the local board of directors, and we held a security briefing with our federal and state partners, as well with the LBEs and staff. Here's some stats from election reform and management. Right now, we have sent out over 550,000 ballots, and we have received back, let me see this. Well, that was when we sent out the admin report, it was a little bit, old, but as of yesterday, we received nearly 140,000 ballots back to be canvassed, and canvasses have been ongoing here. We have over 611,000 requests for mail-in ballots moving forward currently. So just kind of, that's where, where we're at. Let me just say this, the mail-in ballot, the most we've ever had for mail-in ballots was the 2022 general election, where we had approximately 642,000 requests. I think that at the rate we're going here, that this primary election may break that record. If not, then I think that the general will. So just kind of making this probably the 2024 is probably going to have the most mail-in voting possible. Which goes right into the next one here about the canvas. So the canvas have started in a lot of the counties. Some counties actually requested a waiver from beginning their canvas on April 22nd. But all the ones that did request waivers, several of those were going to start earlier but not specifically on April 22nd. So the following counties were granted a waiver: Baltimore County, Cecil, Charles, Dorchester, Garrett, Howard, Somerset, Worcester. And we had 2 counties that were denied: Prince George's and Wycomico County, because their schedule was not indicative of the amount of ballots that were received. So they had to begin their canvass. It is expected, because like I said, I think that if the primary is going to beat out the most that we've ever had, I think that the 2024 general election will probably even beat the primary. So it is expected that all LBEs maximize their ability to canvass 8 days prior to the start of early voting in the general election. And
Gotcha.
if you look at the percentage right now, it's roughly about 21% that have been received from what we've sent out. So it's a significant portion to help alleviate the burdens on post-election and election night results.
Yeah, I think Jake has a question. Go ahead, Jake.
Oh, sure. Sorry.
Appreciate it, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Administrator, I just want to understand this waiver process. So boards requested a waiver because they were basically saying, hey, we think that we can do this in enough time to get everything done. And what you and your staff did was evaluate and basically give a check as to, yes, you can get it done in enough time, or no, you can't.
That is correct.
Is that right?
So the law that was passed I believe last year, allowed the local boards the ability to start the canvass early. This was a Mayo initiative, and I believe it was highlighted by a senator that usually takes all our Mayo initiatives there. And one of the things was certain counties were like, with the law, just for, I guess, for Member Butler's knowledge as well here, just was that not all counties are one size fits all. Montgomery needs more days than say one on the shore. So one of the ways that the law was developed was all canvasses shall start 8 days prior to the start of early voting, but then allowed for a waiver based upon volume that had in historical information. And so when these waivers were coming in, we looked at the volume based upon the counties, the schedule in which they have proposed to us, and and made a factual determination on this. And so that's where that came in. And yes, so when we reviewed it, it was based upon those factors.
Gotcha.
And that's why we also denied those 2 as well, because they didn't either support it or their time frame was incorrect for the volume.
Thank you.
Were they able to just move them also if they needed it for locations and things like that? For the
Yes.
waiver site, yeah. So I thought,
So right, it was all that, but it's more the dates than anything else. So it wasn't necessarily more location, but that was a factor that they didn't have space at this time here. But they're now all on notice to make sure that the 8 days prior to early voting that we are looking at and making sure that they're going to start the canvass as early as possible, because I think that the volume will show that it is there. And we've had, like I said, I think like over 20% now have been received. So it is a significant number of mail-in ballots as they come in, that people are turning them around in a quicker fashion. So
I listened in on the Howard County meeting yesterday, and they were discussing the fact that they had about 10,000, and that's about how many they can do in each canvas. So they thought that was a good number. So because they're doing theirs on Sunday.
Right. Yes, that's why they waited a little bit there for that.
Yeah.
And then that's why we granted it for Howard County.
Good. Okay.
Along the lines there on the ballot deliveries, just to I know that this has always been a point here, is that we have about out of the 611,000 requests, 76,000 were for online ballot delivery. This is a reduction in percentage from the 2022 general election. So in the 2022 general election, online ballot requests made up about 15% of the requests. Here, it's about 12% right now. So there seems to be a little bit of a reduction in those requests as they move forward. So hopefully that will help the local boards too with the duplication efforts, that there have been less requests for that. So next up is curing by text. So we are engaged in a vendor to help cure these mail-in ballots by text solution. So this is for allowing voters who did not submit a signed oath with their mail-in ballot to provide the signature by a secure text message. And as of April 1st, all the voters in need of curing will have given this option by the text platform here. So we're using new technology here to help get to voters, so we ensure their enfranchisement rather than just having them disenfranchised over a technical issue of not signing the oath. Election judge recruitment is ongoing. We have had an additional over 1,000 additional people signed up using our website link, and we have over 4,500 now being judges. So, we continue to receive applications from Power of the Polls, Vet the Vote, and, it's always ongoing. So most LBEs are reporting all their vacancies being filled, and, we're getting ready for Election Day and early voting. Additionally here, I've just wanted to say that we're also looking at, the election the election page program, and I'll give you some updates at the next board meeting on how the page program was recruiting and which counties participated in the page program. And Diane, for you, a page was a law that was passed, and you have to be 14 or 15. You can't be an election judge because election judges are 16 and above. But they have the ability to help assist with the judges to allow them to get a good understanding of it. I hopefully think that every page will become an election judge in the future. So, one of those, I will give you some statistics there. My daughter was one of the first ones in Anne Arundel County, and my other daughter is now going to be a page for the general election as well. The election judge trainings we've wrapped up the training evaluations, and we have provided information back to the LBEs about that. Our election administration education program, we had a class on provisional processing on April 10th, and the combined provisional same-day registration application was also reviewed as well. Correctional facilities voting, we produced and distributed a short video on mail-in voting for the correctional facilities, and we're happy to receive some positive feedback from the staff and about that. So that's been very good, and making sure that every eligible voter has the opportunity to vote. And we're now making while we're still preparing for the election ahead and making sure that everything is going according to plan and regulations for mail-in voting, and soon the early voting, we are starting our preparations for the audit and comprehensive audit as well for after Election Day. The first up will be the independent automated audit of all the ballots using independent software. That was the clear ballot, where we send back the images, and so that they can then see if there's any sort of variations between the two tabulations, and then we work with the LBEs to ensure that everything gets resolved. So that's ongoing. And then, we're, the goal of a comprehensive audit basically is to help verify that the election's in fair and accessible, and that the integrity of the electoral process is, been verified and can be trusted. So this is, you know, we're on task for both those and preparing for post-election day. Now, next up is voter registration.
Jared,
Yeah.
Jared, if I may, real quick, Diane, I saw your mic went on and off. If you do, and I don't want you to feel like your voice is not being heard. So if there is a button for raising your hand, I will ensure that we call on you and that you have your question heard and addressed. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I think it's the same page program that we were using in Howard County also. I was just going to ask the
Yes.
same thing. So I am aware of what that is. Yeah. So
Okay, good. Sorry, yeah, I'm kind of running through this one here just a little bit.
Yeah, it's
but
fine.
yeah.
Once I realized what it was, I realized we'd already done that. So thank you though, Michael. Okay.
No problem.
So voter registration. Yesterday was the close of what is considered an advanced voter registration deadline. This is, you know, it was also the date where individuals could change their political party or become affiliated with a political party. So if you were an unaffiliated voter, you know, that was the deadline for that change as well. Now, if you are a unregistered voter, you know, you can still register to vote, but you would have to go using the same day voter registration process available throughout on early voting and on election day in person at those facilities there. Today, we sent out about you know, roughly 730,000 postcards. I think it's between 730 and almost 750,000 postcards there to all Maryland residents who have a pending status in our voter registration database. And these are eligible but unregistered voters. And, you know, we basically provide them with early voting and election dates and inform them that they complete their registration at the polling place at the time. So all those are hitting the mail stream currently right now.
And how many of those were there?
Between 730 to 750,000.
Wow. Okay. Thanks.
No problem. And we have our monthly audits of the voter registration data continues to verify compliance with federal and state laws. You know, and we also include reviewing the process of the ERIC reports, health records, death reports, the felon records, and, you know, processing overall voter registration records. This is to ensure that the locals, you know, are up to date and, you know, have, you know, to address any training issues as well. On ERIC, we receive data on a monthly basis. So on April here, we received in-state updates, cross-state and national change of address reports for processing. And then on the odd months, which will be next month, we will receive the in-state duplicate and Social Security Administration death records for processing. There's been some statistics from the Motor Vehicle Administration about new registration changes in political parties. And we have a little bit of a chart there for everything. Candidacy and campaign finance. We had a pre-primary one report for committees participating in the presidential Baltimore City election. About 85% filed timely. And, you know, the committees that were not filed timely were assessed a late fee penalty of $20 a day, $35 a day for the next 7 days, and then $50 a day thereafter, up to $1,000. And fee running notices were sent out. Baltimore City public financing has been, I would say, for its first year, has been quite successful. We've had 4 certified candidates, including a candidate for mayor. It has distributed over $1 million. So it's, you know, it's been very good. And we have a maxed out candidate as well. On the state, we have over $9 million now in the Fair Campaign Finance Funds, for all those late fees and filing fees have added up to help, make sure that we have enough funding in that campaign there. We've, just given some stats on the website activity. And because
It
we're
looks
not
like,
doing any,
Looks like Jake
yeah.
has a question on
Sure.
the previous. Mhm.
Appreciate it, Mr.
Sorry.
Chair. No. My apologies. I was a bit late on the draw. I actually want to go back before candidacy campaign finance and just touch up a little bit on the couple things you said and then the primary coming up. So first I have to say, Mr. Meredith, love the outreach. Really appreciate the transparency. I think the postcards to the eligible but unregistered voters is really neat. The two biggest questions I have is, number one, you were talking about election judges, and I feel, at least from my perspective, recruitment on election judges is going. You started it earlier. You and your team started the outreach earlier, and it's paying off. We're still not at 100%. Where is your biggest area of concern when it comes to election judge recruitment?
Well, election judge recruitment is I would say a difficult thing, right? It's a long day. I think one of the things that after this, I want to find out why people became election judges. Was it money? Was it service? Was everything there? So we can kind of help gear the next phase when we do more outreach towards that. Because House Bill, one of the things was House Bill 700 did make the state board now responsible for doing an ad campaign for election judges, rather than just kind of like give the campaign, give the, I would say an outreach campaign to the to the locals to do on their own. So now we're going to have more of a unified message to get that. I would say that, there's never enough judges because it's a single point of failure, right? So, if a person becomes sick or like gets stuck in traffic or anything, like the car breaks down, things that occur can impact that day. So we want to make sure that we have more than enough judges there. And, as we move forward, Maryland also has a lot of primaries that are contested that normally in a presidential we're not. We have a high profile Senate race, we have high profile congressional races, and of course, Baltimore City is up. So I would say, before maybe you would kind of focus, on a presidential, maybe the city, but this time it's the state, and we're monitoring all the actions there. But right now, we are trying to supplement it with, getting out, making sure anybody who wants to be a part of it, the message, the $250, and, trying to get that last bit of, people in there. I think the other thing too, which is important, is age, that, we need to have more younger participation as well, because that helps with returning judges in the future. You get someone at a, so that I'm looking at it going, well, there's 24, 26, and 30, 28 and then 30. But like, if you get someone younger, the transition between,
Sure.
Someone who is aging out as a chief judge, then there's a person that's right underneath it that said, oh, this is my second or third time as being an election judge, moving forward there. So, that's kind of important as well. I want to start seeing the breakdown of where we are with that as
Gotcha.
well.
And on election judges, do we know how many of these judges are signed up as well for the general? Like just looking ahead, do we sign them up for both primary and general at the same time in that regard? Does this give us any sort of insight as to how November?
Yes, I think like most of them are signed up for both. There's some drop off. We do again recruiting because some people, I didn't think about this, but they signed up for both and then they were like, one day is enough. But by the way, I'm not selling it, it seems, on this entire call here. So no, it's great. Please be an election judge. Yes.
Awesome. Just two more questions, if I may, Mr. Chair. The first, Mr. Marinus, just thinking ahead, big picture, primary is now slightly less than 3 weeks away. overall, how are you feeling?
I don't want to answer that question because I'm
Don't want to tempt the fates.
right. We can talk about how I'm feeling on the May board meeting. How about that?
Completely fair. Let me ask you a last question, and Mr. Chair, if this isn't appropriate at this time, please just tell me. I know in the past, there has been concerns from folks, media has brought up, electeds have brought up in terms of the timing of reporting election results. Obviously, counting the results accurately and fairly is the most important thing. Obviously, the public has an interest in knowing when results are going to be posted and whatnot. We have a lot of, can you shed any light in terms of expectations, in terms of setting the expectations for people, that with the amount of mail-in ballots that you're describing, it seems to me odds are pretty good we are not going to know the results of tightly contested elections on election night itself, which is natural for the amount of ballots that we're talking about. Can you just share any thoughts you have on that?
Yes, so I think that's why I was quite insistent on them counting early, starting the canvass early, and why we're setting the expectations for the canvass starting on 8 days early in the general now with the locals, because of there's always that expectation of trying to get as many results as possible on election day. So on election day, you're going to have all the people that vote on election day, all those returns and out, throughout the night. You're going to have early voting as well. In the past, it was, mail-in voting only constituted about 6% of the overall turnout. Now it is a larger significant number, almost a third of it. So the more you couldn't extrapolate winners or losers for that purposes there. So, that's why I want to start it earlier so that, yes, you're still going to have people like that are going to deliver those ballots in the drop boxes or in the post office, and they will be counted. If you get closer to election day, they'll be counted after election day. But if we can get 125,000, 130,000 of these mail-in ballots already kind of canvassed at this point here, that goes to a long way to help shrinking the number post-election. And also by starting it early, if there's any sort of issues with curing, for example, it's a greater period to help cure rather than a post-election where you have 10 days to get before the local board certify the election. So, but back to your first question there. Well, I don't want to tempt fate. Marylanders can always have full faith and confidence in that the election is going to go on and be transparent and be verified, and they can trust that part. I don't want to test. I don't want to test any fate about how I feel.
Promises. No promises.
Thank you,
Right.
thank you, Mr. Demarais.
Yes.
Thank you very much for that. Diane, you've had your hand raised for quite a while. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I have a
for your
couple questions.
patience.
I'll go backwards since we added other subjects in there. So I think that the new interest in the canvas process all across the country is probably a good thing, because I think people didn't understand the canvas to start with, that we have always had those 10 days afterwards, to finalize the votes. I think the redistricting also has changed some of those things this time around, because we've added other counties that tend to come in at the end, on the canvas portion of it. So, and it changes, some of these smaller local voters that have changed their districts. So, I think somewhere along the line, getting the public to understand the canvas process is helpful for that too. And then one question for you, Jared. Did we get that issue straightened out with the call center? We had a problem, I want to say 2 years back, where people were calling into the state or applying to be a judge on the state site versus the county sites. And then they got dropped off the state site and never got to the county site, because I was actually in a poll, and she goes, I've, been a judge every single year, and I didn't get called this time. And so I checked with her. I said, did you apply to the state or did you apply to the county? And she said she applied to the state board. And I said, well, always apply to your county also for that. So did we kind of look at that? Because I know that was.
Yes, I mean, I can follow up with my team on that there. But
Good.
they get it sent out weekly. The state sends it out weekly to the LBEs.
Right. And I
So
know,
we don't hold that information anymore. We get it out as quickly as possible.
okay, good, because there was an issue with that the last time around. So that's
Yeah.
helpful too. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, thanks.
No, thank you. And then so those were kind of the bigger ones here for the information systems and technology and cybersecurity. I'm just going to say that, and this kind of goes into also a little bit of the procurement there. The poll book, we have the poll books are, for the 2024 and 26 elections. We're executing our contingency plan for this one here and, making sure that we have everything in place for 2026 for our contingency plan as well. We have a new voting system project for our equipment where the draft RFP is currently under review by our procurement department, and then it'll go through all the other agencies to be released. And our basically, we have a new campaign reporting information system, Chris, that was submitted to do it. And, we received our comments and, we're making our edits now so we can get that RFP out on the street, as they would say, for bids. Basically cybersecurity, we continue to operate 24 hours, 7 days a week, making sure that we have monitoring independent threat monitoring and our managed security services as well. And we have, briefings, of course, with our cybersecurity partners and federal agencies to make sure we're aware of any emerging cybersecurity threats, both foreign and domestic, and to help mitigate the, those, I guess, bad actors. Procurement, again, I kind of mentioned it earlier. Those were the big ones out there, which were our new voting system, poll books, and Chris. We've had some modifications, just kind of things that we've been doing in preparation for this election here. So, that's pretty much, in the report. The project management office, we are, the central warehouse team has been great. They've been helping support election and non-election efforts and, helping charge those tablets. And, they were key in the distribution of all the drop boxes for us as well. So those are kind of like the bigger tickets there. In the local board news, we have basically the local boards have just, this is their busy time as well. They started the canvas, they conducted logic and accuracy testing of the voting systems. Now that the close of the advanced registration deadline occurred, now they're going to conduct logic and accuracy testing on the poll books. So, all this is in preparation for the election. And, so we're moving forward and, it's very close, for everything moving, May 14th is right around the corner for all of us here. And since the last board meeting, I've not delegated any duties to report. So with that, I submit the admin report to the board.
Thank you very much. Jared, any questions? Any points of clarification need to be made? All right, thank you very much. And moving on, with our agenda, we have the topic of the LBE Local Board Administration ballot marking device approval for, let's see here. And this is for Somerset, and it looks like they're wanting one additional. Jared, could you clarify? It looks like
So
it's
yes,
one
they
additional.
the number. So in basically for this meeting here, they've asked for one more additional to be used at the Greenwood Elementary School. It has about over 2,500 registered voters. So we have already approved the other ones for Somerset here. This is to help allow more ballot marking devices, to be used. So I present that for your approval.
All right, thank you very much. So this is for efficiencies at the local board though. Okay. And is there any questions? Go ahead, Jake.
No questions, just a motion, Mr. Chair.
All right, the chair is open. Okay, the chair is open for a motion. The floor is open for a motion
Move to approve.
to approve. Are there any seconds?
Second,
Thank you so very much. It has been properly moved and seconded. And all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. It is unanimous. Approved. Thank you very much, Chair. And with that, the chair is open for a motion to adjourn at this time. Jake,
So moved.
is there a second?
second,
It's been properly seconded. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Thank you, and the vote passes. There will be no closed session this meeting. Again, Diane, we welcome you to the board. Thank you so very much for your diligence. And Jake, it's great to see you. Jared, thank you very, very much for a wonderful administrative report. You guys have a fabulous week and see you next time.
Yep.
thank you, Michael. It's nice meeting everyone. Thank you.
And just remember, so we have, before we go,
Okay.
the next board meeting is, we have it scheduled on Election Day, May 14th.
All right.
And then the following one would be possibly be in person at the end of May. But we can put that out there. But I just wanted to make sure that everyone, May 14th, it will still be virtual, but to clear your day as well.